Martin Chivers. Cost £100,000 when he was signed from Southampton.
Martin Chivers. He didn't glide like Gilzean. He didn't dance like Greaves. He came like a storm and stayed like a monument. Big Chiv, not a nickname, a warning. He didn't raise his arms. He didn't chase the noise. He didn't ask for the crown. But for nearly a decade, White Hart Lane was his kingdom. 174 goals, a UEFA Cup, 2 League Cups, the weight of Tottenham on his shoulders and silence in his stride. He didn't play to be loved, he played to be marked, and even that wasn't enough. Greaves had just left the record-breaking icon of English football. He followed a legend, then became one. Without asking, without needing, without words, and when it was over, he left the way he always had. No fuss, no farewell, no final pose, just a name carried quietly by those who still remember what a king looked like when he didn't need to be seen to be known. Martin Chivers. Subscribe if you still believe football should honor the kings who never asked to be crowned. He was born in Southampton. The Grey Spring, April 27, 1945. Just as the war ended and England exhaled. No buzz, no headlines, just a tall, quiet boy with a powerful stride and a gift for finishing things early. He signed for his hometown club as a teenager. No fanfare, no big promises, just boots, mud, and a job to do. By 17, he was in the first team. By 19, he was leading the line. And by the time he left, he had scored 96 goals in 175 league games. Not hype, not streaks, just consistency, week after week. He didn't glide past defenders, he didn't trick his way through gaps, he picked his run, met the cross, and ended the move. Quiet, decisive, final. For 6 seasons, he carried Southampton's attack, and every year, the numbers grew louder even if he didn't. He wasn't chasing a move, but the goals gave him no choice. By 1968, bigger clubs were watching, and one of them was ready to break a record. Tottenham didn't need a showman. They needed goals. They needed presence. They needed someone to follow the most famous striker in English football without flinching. They needed Chivers. In 1968, Tottenham broke the bank. £125,000, the highest fee ever paid by a British club at the time. Not for flair, not for fame, but for goals. They were coming off the Greaves era. The poetry was fading. The crowd needed a new shape to their hope. And Chivers, he wasn't poetry. He was punctuation. He arrived from Southampton with a scoring record that spoke louder than his voice. Big frame, sharp instincts, no ego. London didn't quite know what to make of him. He wasn't fast, he wasn't flashy, he didn't talk. And in a club that still echoed with names like Mackay, Blanchflower, and Greaves, he didn't try to fill the silence. He just played. At first, it didn't click. He was in and out of the side, finding his role, feeling the weight. But he didn't complain, didn't panic, didn't push for headlines. He trained, he waited, he stayed ready. And when the space opened up, he stepped in, and never gave it back. Chivers didn't replace Greaves by copying him. He rewrote the template. Power over finesse, force over flair, certainty over spectacle. And slowly, quietly, he became the man Tottenham trusted to finish what others started. The record fee faded, the questions stopped, the goals began. Once the door opened, he didn't knock again. Chivers made the number 9 his own. Not with flair, not with flash, but with presence. He didn't move much, he didn't need to. He just waited, timed it, and struck. Low drives, near post headers, one-touch finishes, nothing fancy, nothing wasted. Defenders thought he was slow. Then he was gone. Keepers thought they had it covered. Then the net was moving. He didn't announce himself. He arrived like a man who'd always been there. By 1970, he was Tottenham's first name on the team sheet. The man every ball searched for. The one every fan trusted. And he delivered. Again and again. League goals, cup goals, late goals, important goals. He didn't need 5 chances. He only needed 1. With Gilzean's ghost-like flick-ons and Chivers' thunderous finishes, they were nightmare fuel for defenders. Spurs gave him service. He gave them silver. And all of it without the noise. No badge thumping, no press conferences, no campaign to be noticed. Just boots, space, and the finish that ended questions before they started. He was never the headline, but he was always the reason. And by the early 70s, he wasn't following Greaves anymore. He was leading. 1971 to 72. The year Martin Chivers stopped being underrated and became unstoppable. He scored 44 goals in all competitions, the highest total of his career. One of the best single seasons in Tottenham's history. No one had to ask where the goals would come from. He was already there. Between defenders, behind the line. In space, he didn't seem to move into until it was too late. Domestically, he was lethal. In Europe, he was a problem. Quarter-final, semi-final, final. He scored in all three. In the first leg of the UEFA Cup, final 2 goals at Molineux, Spurs beat Wolves 3-2 on aggregate, the club's first ever European trophy. And Chivers? He was the reason. He didn't lift the cup with theatrics. He didn't sprint to the cameras. He just shook hands and walked back down the tunnel like it was just another shift. But the fans knew. That season wasn't built on magic. It was built on Martin, the hold-up play, the bullet finishes, the near-post headers, the presence defenders couldn't solve. He wasn't just scoring goals, he was holding the attack together, carrying the pressure, winning games no one else could finish. And all of it without a single demand to be noticed. For Spurs, it was silverware. For Chivers, just another job done. He did everything a striker could do. He scored, he carried. Between 1971 and 1973, Martin Chivers earned 24 caps for England, scored 13 goals, won every 2 games. Better than many who got remembered. His 1971 goal against Scotland, a blistering strike at Hampton, should have sealed his place, but silence came instead of a call-up. No World Cup. Not in 1966, not in 1970, not in 1974. Too early. Too late. Too overlooked. When England went to Mexico, Chivers stayed home. When they failed to qualify in 74, he had just finished the best season of his life. But the call never came. There were always others. Hurst, Lee, Assel, Ball. Chivers kept scoring, kept waiting, kept quiet. No complaints, no interviews, no campaign to be picked. He just wore the shirt when asked and scored when he did. But the biggest stage? It passed him by. And he never chased it. He said later, "I never got a World Cup." That still sits with me. And that was all. Just a sentence. No bitterness, just truth. England moved on. So did football. But for those who knew the numbers, for those who watched the games, the silence was never fair. Chivers was good enough. He was ready. He just wasn't chosen. By 1976, his legs grew heavier, Spurs were changing, and the quiet striker left for Servette. The goals slowed. The spotlight dimmed. The roar began to move elsewhere. Chivers was still playing, still scoring, but the legs were heavier, and the noise was looking for something new. He stayed at Spurs until 1976. 8 years, 367 games, 174 goals, third on the club's all-time scoring list, behind only Greaves and Smith. But no statue, no song, no fuss. When his time was up, he didn't argue. He didn't announce it. He just left. One season with Servette in Switzerland, still scoring, still leading the line but out of the camera's reach, then short spells at Norwich, then Brighton. His goals now live in grainy film. His name survives in the stories told softly by those who watched him rise before the noise took over. No testimonial, no farewell match, no grand goodbye, just the slow walk away, like he always did. The fans remembered. But football moved on. The kind of striker he was, direct, powerful, decisive, didn't make headlines in the same way. And by the time the tributes started going up, they weren't for him. Others got the statues, others got the replays, Chivers got the quiet. But he never complained, because he never asked for attention. He just asked for the ball. And when he had it, you knew what came next. He didn't disappear. Not completely. Years passed. Football changed. The game grew louder. But Martin Chivers, he stayed close, not on TV, not chasing interviews, not rewriting his past. He just turned up quietly on match days. A familiar face at White Hart Lane, no grand entrance, no ex-player theatrics, just a handshake, a smile, a presence. He became a matchday host at Spurs, the club he once carried, now carrying him back through the gates, not as a legend in lights, but as someone who'd done it all and never asked for the echo. Sometimes, fans would see him walking through the stands. Soft voice, strong posture, still built like he could hold off a centre half. You'd see fans hesitate, unsure if it was him, then they'd remember the shoulders, the silence, and the way he never needed to smile to be recognized. He didn't tell stories unless asked, he never clung to the past, but when someone truly remembered, you could see it flicker behind his eyes. One old fan said, "Chiv didn't talk, he thundered." Then continue as is. He didn't need applause. He never did. He came back to Spurs the same way he left it, with quiet dignity, and boots no longer needed to prove what he had already done. 174 goals, 367 games, a UEFA Cup, 2 League Cups, a name carved into Tottenham's history even if the game never shouted it. Martin Chivers didn't ask for legacy. He didn't build a brand, he didn't chase a statue, he just scored and walked away. He was never meant to shine in this era, but in his own time he was the thunder beneath every win. He came after Greaves and carried the weight of expectation without complaint, without imitation. He didn't try to be the next anyone. He never chased comparison. He didn't echo anyone's steps. He was the first and only Martin Chivers. He made scoring look inevitable, made defenders look tired, made the net ripple like it was routine, and when it was over, he left the pitch the same way he played on it. Quiet, straight-backed, unshaken. Ask the fans who saw him. They'll tell you the truth. No fuss, no flash, just goals when they mattered most. Martin Chivers, the king who didn't need a crown to prove he ruled. Subscribe now.